Friends, comrades, lend me to your ears. Wednesday has come and gone, and so came the first issue of Halo Escalation. I must admit, I was somewhat skeptical about this new series. While I felt good about the new writer, Initiation left a pretty bad taste in my mouth, in case I hadn't been clear enough in the past. However, I was very pleasantly surprised to find that my skepticism was unfounded. That's right, Halo Escalation is an amazing comic. Starting off in the Wargame Simulator, where the Spartans are playing, surprise surprise, Invasion, Palmer is called to meet the UNSC Security Council concerning the escape of Dr. Halsey. I admit, this part felt a little weird. Following the events of Spartanops, both Palmer and Captain Lasky would have filed reports concerning Halsey's escape and the failed assassination. Yet, Admiral Osmond is surprised to find out that Palmer states Lasky sent Majestic to back her up, which we as fans know to be a lie. Even stranger, Osmond even has a report from Palmer in front of her. I can only gather that Palmer mentioned her surprise at the appearance of Majestic, but never stated why Lasky sent them. Though Lasky too would have had to lie in his report, either being vague about his intentions with Majestic or claiming they were sent to back up Palmer, a story which Palmer confirms during the inquiry. Whatever the case, the scene seems unnecessarily long. I know it's there to provide a little closure, seeing as, if the truth were known, Lasky would have been court-martialed. But it takes up the first quarter of the comic. All that aside, this scene brings back a fan-favorite character, Admiral Lord Terrence Hood. And I have to say, it's great to see him return. Though I have to wonder, why was Hood the only one in the Security Council wearing a war-era uniform? All the other admirals and generals had post-war uniforms, but Hood stood out. Is there a reason for this? Is it to make sure fans know it's Hood? It's a minor thing, but his uniform consistently bothered me when reading through the comic. It also seems that Hood was aware of Osmond ordering Halsey's assassination. I wouldn't expect him to say anything during the inquiry, but I do hope that we get to see how he feels about the whole situation in a future issue. After the inquiry, Lord Hood comes aboard the Infinity, saying the flagship will help host negotiations between the Sangheili and the Jiralhanae. As it turns out, the Jiralhanae are sitting on a number of worlds with vast resources that they don't know how to harvest, and the UNSC hopes to cash in. When Lasky inquires about the hunt for Jewel and Dama, Hood says that the Vociferous will be taking over. This, of course, is a reference to former Ascendant Justice blogger Vociferous, a current 343 employee. Anyway, the UNSC meets up with friendly Sangheili and Jiralhanae forces above Ealen 4, a former Covenant plasma farm. Literally, it was a planet terraformed to have inclement weather so that the Covenant could harvest lightning. As Spartan Scroggs remarks, the Covenant always have to do things the hard way. On the planet, talks between humans, Sangheili, and Jiralhanae begin. The Jiralhanae chieftain, Lidus, claims that his people only take what is owed to them. However, the Arbiter insists that peace is in the Jiralhanae's best interest before fighting breaks out among the different tribes. This is a nice reference to Halo Evolution's The Return, which takes place in 2559, 1 year later. Sadly, the peace is not meant to last. A new Sangheili-led Covenant faction, calling itself the Guardians of the Righteous, disturbs the party. It's important to note that this faction seems unaffiliated with Jewel and Dama, the Servants of Abiding Truth, or any other Covenant remnants that we've seen so far. Besides the name, they have normal-looking Kigyar, Umdamas being from a remote part of the Kigyar homeworld, and they seem to be using Halo 3 era weaponry. They even use Spirit dropships in Halo 2 and 3 era Banshees, perhaps implying that Jewel and Dama's forces use older model Banshees. This would further imply that the Banshees seen in Halo Reach and Halo CEA are actually old model, which were eventually swapped out for the ones seen in Halo 2 and 3. The comic then comes to an end as several Spartans, Lasky and Hood, are locked in a warehouse with the Arbiter, Lydius, and their respective surviving escorts. So, an amazing start to the series. Lots of action, nice overall pacing, and the return of fan-favorite characters. Still, the comic is not without faults. Besides what I've listed above, I have two other complaints. 1. Palmer is, again, dual-wielding pistols. Please, 343, stop trying to make this a thing. The pistols are supposed to be support weapons, and they just hurt Palmer's image. She even has a DMR on her back in this issue. Why choose the pistols over the DMR? Why? Number 2, the art. The characters consistently look anorexic or just way too thin. I'm also not a fan of the characters seemingly talking through their teeth. There are literally 3 instances where the characters are talking and actually have their mouths open. Otherwise, it's just open lips and teeth. Kinda bothersome. Still, those minor complaints aside, this first issue seems to indicate a strong series to come. Palmer actually felt like more than a talking piece of cardboard in this issue. If Chris Schlurf can turn her into an actual character in a single issue, I cannot wait to see what he does with her in later issues. We may even have some actual character development. Halo Escalation is primed to be a great ongoing series, so pick up the first issue if you haven't already. If you're still skeptical, head over to the Halo Universe forums on Halo Waypoint. Fans have taken an almost universal shining to this comic from what I've seen. Issue 2 releases on January 08 next year. I look forward to seeing what happens next. This has been Halo Canon, and I'll see you next time.